Hola, welcome to Everybody's Lost. I'm Veronica Muñoz, your host, and today we have Dylan Wagner. In this episode, we are going to talk all things men's mental health. So, thank you for coming, Dylan.
Thank you for having me.
So, Dylan is an influencer who has more than 100k followers on TikTok and more than 20k on Instagram. And he became really viral because he posted videos of his hair transplant. And then he went onto the British tabloids. It's really interesting, actually. Yes, like we met at an influencer event.
Yeah, it was like a
fitness
BXR fitness. That was a horrible event. I'm sorry. I was dying by the end of it.
It was like a high intensity one.
It was like, what even was it? It was a boxing hit workout. I was dying
Yes,
by the
we
end
were
of
like
it.
sweating. How long was that? Like
That must have been about a year and a half
year
ago,
ago, was
something.
it?
It was like
Yeah.
just before
Before
summer
that.
last year, I think, right?
Yeah. So yeah, before the hair transplant thing and everything, was it?
Yes, it was. So I ended up getting my hair transplant back it was November 2023, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So almost about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
It was a very, very hectic journey, to be honest. I was doing as many influencer events as I could before
Yeah.
actually getting it.
Because yeah, like well, tell us a bit like what do you do about your influencing journey? What you do in on the screen and also out. What tell us about your life? Yeah.
Well, on the screen, I mean, I'm a Gen Z content creator. I've got around 200k on TikTok, around 27k on Instagram, and I've just been posting ever since 2019 when I was back at school. That's what I like to do on camera, off camera as well. I do hold a corporate job, essentially doing sales. For a very large accounting firm. On top of that, I also do have my own agency, which works behind the scenes, which does everything from PR, consulting, events. And I think just being in London, you kind of have to do a little bit of everything to make it where you want to. I mean, compared to what you're doing, I actually have no idea. Obviously, you do social media, but
Yeah.
what about yourself? I realise we've never actually asked that
I'm
question.
I'm being interviewed now. So yeah, I'm a journalist and I report on things, politics, humanitarian affairs, protests, natural disasters, and yeah, I think like this podcast is also journalistic in a way because I'm interviewing people, they are telling me their stories and I'm giving them voice, but also I want to inspire with my podcast, and that's why I invited you because I think your story is really important to tell, to talk about men's mental health. And this like there's this stigma, right, about hair transplants and how then you got a lot of coverage because of it. So yeah, if you could tell us, how did you start this journey, like why, like at such a young age, at 23, 22, you decided to do a hair transplant? How did it start?
Yeah, so it was at 22. But to be honest, I'd known that I'd had quite a high hairline, for a number of years, and it wasn't helped by the fact that I was always getting perms. I was dyeing my hair throughout university for I was perming my hair maybe twice a year for 3 years, and the statistics for men, now that you look at it, are actually really bad. So I think it's a third of men under the age of 21 will start experiencing hair loss. By the time you're 25, it's 2/3. And for me, to be honest, I was actually a little bit in denial. I always wore my hair forward, very similar to how I have it now. So it was always covered up, but I noticed it was starting to become a bigger and a bigger issue. And I remember towards the end of university, I just graduated, my hair was frazzled, it was damaged. I remember just lifting it up and thinking, this is ridiculous. I'm personally quite lucky. I never felt that there was really a stigma around it. For me, I'm a generally very open person. I literally post my life online.
Yeah.
There are no secrets. But I do know for a lot of people, it's something that they really heavily think about. But unless you're ever thinking of getting a hair transplant, or you know your hair's damaged, or you know you have a receding hairline, trying to find ways around it is just not something you ever think about. Like, at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know, you know? So towards the end of university, I reached out to a number of hair clinics in the UK. because I personally just didn't want to go abroad. It's a long journey to have like major surgery. And my only priority was it looked as natural as possible. Pretty ironic considering I still wear my hair forwards. But eventually I did come across one place. They're called the British Hair Clinic. I knew them because a guy from Too Hot to Handle, one of my mates, he went there. He told me about it. I think him and his brother essentially got a hair transplant. I saw who they worked with. It's a lot of, I'm not allowed to say who they've actually worked with, but a lot of like footballers, cricketers, sports people, influencers.
And a lot of people who don't talk about maybe that they are not so open or...
Exactly. And so I saw that place and I thought, you know, it's worth just giving them a ring, seeing what they can do, and see if it's something that we can help with. So I was pretty straightforward with it. I spoke to about 3 clinics in London. This one was the only one where they seem to have a dedicated sales team. Sounds like the wrong thing to say, but it had like a patient liaison. And they were very, very succinct in terms of making sure you knew exactly what you wanted, what you were going for. So what they did for me is they didn't do, you know, a hairline all the way down, straight as heck. And I feel that's what, in Turkey, I think it's undisputed that they are better at what they do, but that's because you go there, everything is tried to be done in one go, and then you fly out on Turkish Airlines the day after. Whereas in the UK, what I felt was they were checking where my muscles were. They wanted to make sure it looked good in the future. They wanted to make sure it was a natural looking hairline as well. Now no one even knows that I had it done unless I tell them.
Yeah, there's a lot in there, like there's so many things that people they don't know about the procedure. So yeah, how was the procedure itself? Was you scared of doing it, or how does it work when you are there, and how, I don't know.
Well, I've almost died 6 times, so no, I'm not scared of a hair transplant. The only thing that I was slightly worried about was the swelling afterwards, but I thought that would be pretty funny.
Yeah.
And after every major surgery, you're going to, you know, swell up in that area, whether that's, you know, like wisdom teeth to your broken finger. So in terms of how the actual procedure works, what they do is first they draw on the new hairline. They want to make sure that you're happy with it. They make sure that it's around the muscles. So, you know, instead of putting your hairline down here and every time you go like that, your hair will just jump up and down. And then what they did is they kind of flip you onto your back and they anesthetize the entire back of your head. That bit, I'll be honest, was a bit painful. I had to take a break every, I don't know, like 10, 15 jabs or so. That was the only not great part of the procedure.
They don't put anesthesia?
No, so that was the anesthesia.
Yeah, like...
because you don't already have anesthesia, it does hurt a little bit.
Okay. Because they put in your scalp or...
So not just yet. So they do the entire back of your head first, because that's where they're going to take the hair follicles first. Oh, I forgot to mention, they shave your head, by the way, so you get to do a Britney Spears.
Like in her,
to be fair, it was always not a dream, but a bucket list to just go bald.
Yeah, well,
I didn't look great bald, but I did go bald. So they put you down, they anesthetize the back of your head. I don't know how many jabs they do, maybe like 50. Painful up until the anesthesia actually kicks in. What they do is they then take like a drill, and they basically drill each individual hair follicle. They kind of take out a bit of skin. They take it out. They take the actual hair follicle out, and then they put it aside. And in my case, they took out about like 2,200, something like that. Wow. So imagine 2,000 drill bits each time. Yeah. And it was very weird because obviously the back of your head has anesthesia, but you can feel the drill bits going in, but it doesn't hurt. It was strange.
Because it's not your whole body, like you are still awake.
Yeah, you're awake during this entire procedure as well.
It must feel like, I don't know.
It was strange. It's like, imagine hearing a drill inside your head. Well, that's because there was a drill inside your head. But it was like that. So they do that. They take out all the hair follicles. They then flip you back around. You get to have a bit of a break. So they just gave me some sandwiches, chocolate, also to bring back your energy, because you do lie there for about, I think like 2-3 hours.
Can you just not sleep? Like have a nap?
I think at one point I did sleep actually, yeah. But you do have to just make sure you're straight. But at any time, if you wanted to, you know, like just quickly get up for a second, like open your eyes, just move your head if you're cramping, like they happily did that. So what they do, they then turn you around, they anesthetize the front bit of your head, of where your hairline is. They've already marked where they're going to actually put in the hair follicles. Same sort of thing, you lie down, they then drill like very, very small holes like into the top of your head where the new hairline's going to be and for where each follicle is going to go into. And then at that point, you're lying on your back. They've got Netflix on. I was watching the new season of The Crown when it came out, season, I think, 5. I was very happy. And so what they do from there is then they take the individual hair follicles and they put them inside each hole. Mm-hmm. And that was the actual procedure. And overall, I think it took like 5-6 hours, something like that.
No, yeah.
So it's long, but not ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the good thing about being in the UK to have it done is it was only about an hour and a half drive to go back to my house.
You can go home, you have your family to look after you, and yeah, he says, so how is the aftercare? Like after that, what did you have? What did they tell you?
The aftercare was tough, to be honest. It was the toughest part of the procedure. The British Hair Clinic, they were fantastic in terms of like offering me advice if I was worried about something, if something wasn't going right. But essentially, you have to lie straight for 2 weeks. That was really hard for me. I'm a side sleeper. I had to get one of those like neck pillows.
Okay.
You're not allowed to touch. Well, you shouldn't touch where the new hairline is. You don't want to damage anything. You have to put on oils and creams. You wash your head like once every 3 days, but again, you can't touch it. It's like, you know, when you wash a baby, you need to put like warm soapy water and pour it over the top. It was quite tough. The swelling was really funny.
Yeah, to see yourself. How was that? Seeing yourself at the mirror, like with the swelling and like, was you a bit scared or?
Well, honestly, I thought, am I allowed to even post this on social media because I've looked like I've changed races?
Not to put like some trigger warning, like trigger warning.
No, it was really hectic. Basically, my entire face swelled up. My face was kind of drooping. I'm not going to do it, but my eyelids basically like drooped down as well. So it was very strange. I still thought it was funny more than anything. I was worried right after the procedure. If you look at what the tabloids say that I've said, they've taken it out of context, but I said, oh my God, I can't believe I've actually done this in a happy way. And it was also weird as well because we had my family from South Africa over. So they were just looking at me like, what have we just walked into?
Like, so how was that for you? So you decided to record yourself, which I think, to be honest, it was brave of you, but also to spread awareness because, like, men, they get this cosmetic surgery and hair transplant, or so many men and many friends I've talked with, they are considering doing it because they are balding, and that's something tough to see at yourself losing hair. Like, you have to look at your reflection, you have to look at yourself in the mirror every day. So you kind of opened up about this, but then I guess there were like the positive comments and everything, but then there was like seeing yourself in the media, in the tabloids. How was that for you to find the first article published about you?
Well, my dad sent it to me.
Really?
I think it was something along the lines of like, it was like a balding Brit has hair transplant, but it goes horribly wrong. And they just use an image. And these were published, I think, like 7 months into. So again, for the full hair transplant results, it takes around 12 to 18 months. Realistically, I was in like month 7. I was still looking pretty good. I was like at festivals. I was getting attention. I was happy. But yeah, they were essentially just using a picture of me from like day 3 to show what this apparent horror result was. Which was incredibly misleading. And I think, you know, I'm not going to name the specific medias, but, you know, like fast-paced journalism and tabloids, they thrive off of getting clicks, getting views. I mean, I get it. I mean, this is our job as well, you know, as like content creators. We're there to get attention. For me, considering like even one of my videos posted about it got 20 million views, I clearly got more reach than all of those tabloids anyway. But I think the issue that I think a lot of men probably think of when it comes to cosmetic surgery is that it is a slippery slope, and you do see so many people who have gone over the edge. They start with one surgery, they then get another surgery, then get another surgery. You know, it might start with a hair transplant, then they think, oh, I need a rhinoplasty, and then no, I need Botox, no, I need my lips filled, now I need a jawline filler. And I think that because you see the results of, you know, some of the biggest people out there, no hate to them, if anything, I actually respect them for what they do. Some of the biggest people out there who have gone through all of these cosmetic surgeries and then known for their cosmetic surgery, I think if I ever thought, I don't know, even if I thought like rhinoplasty, I would immediately jump to one of those people. Whereas something like a hair transplant, that was just a one-off procedure for myself. I knew that I just wanted to fix my hairline. That was it. That was my limit. Even now, I think, is there anything else I'd really want to change about myself?
Do you think?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, maybe like a rhinoplasty, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not really that fussed. I think my nose is okay. Like maybe something to do with my jawline, sure, but I could just go to the gym a bit more. And at the end of the day, I think it's just about only fixing what you really think you need is fixed, and you should only do something if you feel you should do it.
Yeah, do you think you was, as an influencer, influenced by other influencers, and also this, because you are in front of the camera as well, so you get kind of influence as well, like others are doing the rhinoplasty and this, the jawline, and everything.
Do you know what? Honestly,
that,
not really. No? For myself, I mean, it's ironic. I watch a lot of social media, but I don't follow social media, if that makes sense. It was honestly just a case of, I've seen that my hairline was going up, it was receding. I noticed like on camera, like I'd be struggling to get my hair in the right place, and it was just incredibly irritating and annoying. And so I thought, what are the options? I did some research, and it was as simple as that. But social media, I mean, it has the power for, you know, to do amazing. You know, people who are insecure, you know, when it comes to mental health, for example, it shows you, you know, how to, you know, like how to deal with situations. There's loads of apps and, you know, I don't remember what any of them are called, to be honest, but, you know, like apps where you just meditate or you learn to breathe, you know, and I think that's coming about more and more. That's a positive side, you know, showing positivity. But then you have the negative side of when things go genuinely wrong,
like
when things are bad.
Surgeries or, so did you receive positive comments in a way that you influence other people to do the hair transplant, or they were thankful that you shared your journey because they were skeptical about it, or they were thinking, because many men, I'm sure, they think about doing the hair transplant, but they are ashamed or embarrassed, or what others think, or they don't know much. So do other friends talk to you about this, or you had comments?
Well, prior to the surgery, no. I mean, it's not something that people will generally talk about. For Gen Z, my generation, I think that we are very open. So if someone wanted to talk about it, we would, and honestly, we wouldn't care. But I do think when it comes to millennials, I think would still be open to talking about it, but not as much. But towards the older generations, it's just something to be seen as like, man up, doesn't matter why you're doing this. Like I come from an East European background as well. I know we were talking about it just before we started rolling as well. Wait a second, I forgot the question.
Yeah, like
what was the question? Oh, the positivity, negativity.
Yeah, and you come from like what was your family take on this when you told them, I'm going to do a hair transplant? What, your dad is the one who discovered first this article. So
I mean, I was talking about it for ages to them. I told them, look, I'm getting it done. They were all just saying like, no, you don't need it. It's horrible. Girls don't care about your looks. Like, no one cares. Why are you doing this? You're going to start like this and you're going to end up like this. I mean, like, to be fair, I come from like a background where it's like, you don't have depression, you have too much free time.
Therapy doesn't exist. That's for crazy people or something. Like, that's what they used to think back in time.
Exactly. Like, my mum's Russian Ukrainian, and I'll be honest with you, her growing up in Crimea, she had much bigger problems than, oh, do I need to fix my lips? Bluntly. But yeah, it's just something that people, it's something that you don't know what to do about until you actually get to that point. I was telling my family that I was going to do it. They were trying to stop me for ages, but it was my own money, so they can't really do anything. Got it done. I don't want to say were laughing. They thought it was pretty funny, but they really helped me when it came to the aftercare bit, like making me food. Like my grandma, my babushka, she was always like asking if I'm okay, like bringing me food, water, making me little snacks, which is really sweet. But when it got to about like month 6 or 7, when my hair actually started looking good, and I think it was the time that I stopped wearing hats all the time when I was at a festival. I think that was a moment that my mum called me and she was like, yeah, you were right, actually, it's good.
Yeah, they accepted it. So yeah, like how was that when you started seeing yourself back again with hair? That must have felt amazing for you. And did that improve your self-confidence? Did you start loving yourself more? Or also were you like before that, no, I have to love myself no matter what, in with hair or not? So how was that journey for you?
I wouldn't say I love myself, I'm just Dylan, but
Yeah.
it was very weird. So, I mean, I've already gone through, before this, I'd already gone through another glow up. Like, I went from like a really, really skinny, like, weird kid at school to, I don't want to say attractive, but I thought that like, compared to where I'd been really attractive. So I'd already worked through like one of those glow ups and I understood kind of, and I think anyone who's really ugly and then gets to the point that they start getting more attractive, um, they know the mentality. Like, it's kind of like, for example, like for me, I was like the skinny kid in school. I still, even though now I'm a lot bigger, I see myself still as that like little skinny kid from school. Um, in terms of confidence, don't get me wrong, I probably wasn't the most confident when I had no hair, and I was low. I was quite large as well. At the time, I'd put on a decent amount of weight because there just wasn't anything to do, and I love food. I still stand by that I love food. Um, but I would say that I was confident pretty much the entire way throughout. I mean, I'm quite confident in terms of like my personality, in terms of how I look, how I present myself. I was still pulling while I was bald. I don't really understand how
It's
or
a
why.
personality as
Personality
well.
always, which I realize can probably be a negative, but I'll take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I'd gone out and about, I just remember the moment the confidence properly hit, more so than normal. Was I was at a festival called like Forbidden Forest up in Nottingham. I was out with a bunch of my friends. Someone just took a pic of me. I said that correctly. It's one of those ones that it doesn't sound right, but they took a picture of me. I looked at it and I thought, damn, and posted it, and then it kind of just went from there, to be honest. But it's not something that, with the exception of what I've posted online, it's not something that I ever really think about day to day, realistically.
Yeah, so tell us about that. It's a long journey you have come through, because there was a period of your time you told me like you love food, you like put on weight, and also like you was seeing yourself losing hair. So it was like overall, like I think one thing leads to another. Like you are not so confident, and then you put on weight. So that was, do you think, like the lowest point um, on your self-confidence? But then you worked to improve it through fitness. You also do. And
Well, to be honest, it was never. I wouldn't say there was ever a low point,
okay.
realistically. Like, I just go through phases where for like 2-3 months I'll just eat a lot, and then the next 2-3 months I'll be working it off. The entire time, like, for example, even when I had that hair transplant and I was bald, like, I was still going to the gym anyway. And to be fair, I looked hench. I was clearly bigger, but um, but yeah, it is just one of those things where, like, for me at the time as well, like, I was job hunting as well as doing social media. Like, I had so many different side hustles and things going on. But it is something that it's not the best to be in, but if you have the right network, the right people supporting you, or like for myself, I'm quite lucky that I'm an independent person. I was honestly, like, I knew this was going to happen. I had mentally prepared myself for it. I'd seen the videos. The doctors told me this is exactly what's going to happen. So there was no surprise from my aspect. Like, I knew exactly what was going to happen. It was just the 2-3 months of going through it, and then once that 2-3 months had kind of ended, I was then free to go and do whatever. And at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, it's nice to look good, feel good, be happy. I'm very much a believer in be deluded or confident, it doesn't matter, because that will actually make you happy and confident. But at the end of the day, looks aren't everything, you know, and it's what matters is who you support yourself with, what you're doing, what you're planning to do. And I had so much going on at the time. But if I had to go through it all again, I definitely would.
Yeah, okay. So you don't regret the decision like the tabloid said. Yeah,
Absolutely not.
there's one headline that I saw. Influencer Dylan Wagner regrets his decision of hair transplant or something like that, right? Like they were implying that you regretted that.
I don't know where they got I regret it from. I've never said that. I have always said I would go through it again. But to be fair, some of the tabloids have literally said that I'm American and 24 years old. So clearly they've done their research and the tabloids are definitely correct.
And I guess because they implied something different, so much different that what you wanted to express, you got hate from that article, that people, they were, oh, why would he do that? Did you read those comments, like hateful comments or like trolls?
No, I read them on my own posts. To be honest, I thrive off of hate. I actually really enjoy it, which is, I don't know if that's toxic or not. When it comes to like those articles, if I'm being honest, when I think about it, realistically, how many clicks and views are they getting? Like, probably not as close to, you know, like, again, one video that I had posted on it was 20 million. Definitely not even close to the same amount. I tried to look through the articles. I honestly just looked at it and laughed. Clearly not what I was trying to put out, but at the same time, if you work in the industry, you know what the media can be like, and you just know there's no point fighting it. You know, if people want to know the truth, they can go to your page and they can look for themselves. If they want to just look at one headline quickly, look at it, believe it, then that's kind of on them, if you know what I mean. Yeah, but in terms of what was on my posts, it was very supportive, generally speaking. Pretty much everyone was telling me, yeah, it's an improvement, it looks so good. Don't get me wrong, I got quite a few trolls. There were people saying like I don't even know what, like there's nothing that even comes to mind realistically. I do read my posts, but like not that often. But realistically, I mean, when you think of like the actual positivity that comes from it, I've had so many people in my DMs, you know, messaging me like, can you tell me about the procedure? What was it like? How does it feel for you? This is what I do right now. You know, so clearly it's something that people want to talk about, but they just want to know who has done it, and they want to know someone who's gone through that process. It's a bit like you wouldn't go to a personal trainer who'd never been to the gym, would you?
Yeah, well, of course, like a personal trainer. Like they need to know their thing, of course, but yeah, like you talk from personal experience, and also as an influencer, and you are growing on 200k on TikTok. Last time I saw you had 100k, so now you are growing fastly, so you need to have a thick skin and have like a high self-confidence on yourself to know, like, no matter what they say about me, the comments, I know who I am, and so you have come a long way, like you are so confident right now. Do you think more people and men, they should talk about these issues more between each other? I think, what is your perspective of the conversations you have between your like friends who are men, that they don't talk much about mental health, what you are saying, that physique is important?
Well, for like guy friends my age, I mean, to be honest, we just go to the pub, get drunk, and then go to Ministry of Sound. But so that doesn't really come up. But no, we all have an understanding of like if there is an issue, we can always just message each other, just say, I don't know, like, oh, like I've just broken up with the girl that I was with, or you know, oh, I'm not feeling so great, or this. Like we are pretty open. Don't get me wrong, the bar I think for guys is still a lot higher than it is for girls. But generally I think they're pretty open. But I know when it comes to like sort of the older generation, they feel a bit more uncomfortable to just open up a little bit. And I mean, I don't blame them, to be honest. You know, if you've grown up in that way, you're grown up to keep your emotions in, not to, you know, like tell everyone how you're feeling. That's fair enough. But at the same time, you know, I think if someone is genuinely you know, insecure about something, or they really want to change something about themselves, they should, you know, at the end of the day, you don't even need to speak to someone. Like you can just do a Google search, but it's always nice to get the human touch, you know.
Yeah, it's good to have a support network, like you have, that you have amazing friends, that you talk about all things relationship, or not feeling great about yourself. But some people might not have it. So what would you say to them about their self-image to other men? What would be your advice for young men?
Honestly, my advice is you don't really need to listen to need to listen to anyone who's not a close friend. Realistically, I mean, I'd say go out, get advice. You know, at the end of the day, try to speak to, you know, let's say it's, you know, like you're worried about your hair. You don't need to go speak to, you know, Jill down the road about your hair. Like, what does she know? Like, go speak to, you know, clinician. Go get a quotation. Like, understand. You know, learn more. You know, and make sure you're speaking to multiple people, you know, at the same time. Never, the one piece of advice I think I'd give to anyone is do not listen to just one person, do not listen to just one voice. And I think this is the problem with social media and algorithms, is that people, they hear what they want to hear.
Yes.
And they like to live in an echo chamber. Whereas the way that I try to live my life is I try to make sure all of my friends are different. Everyone has a differing opinion. Like, I have friends who are literal communists to, you know, people who support the right wing in this country. You need to have different opinions, and you need to have different what's the word that I'm looking for, different perspectives,
yeah.
Exactly, on everything. So yeah, that was a very long-winded way of me just saying don't listen to one person or one thing that you've heard online.
And what would you say also, like, to men who were in the same position as you, seeing up themselves in the mirror and balding, and I mean, like, some people, they might not have be in the good economic situation right now to do a hair transplant, right? So what would you say it will help their confidence despite of balding or seeing themselves with less hair?
Well, first they need to think, why is this an issue? You know, again, like I said, 2/3 of men by the age of 35 already start having receding hair. You have to go back. Is it to do with my confidence? Is it because I want to be able to get a girl or a guy? Is it because I want to hang around a certain type of people? I want to look a certain type of way. I want a certain type of lifestyle. First, you really need to understand that for yourself. For me personally, I just thought it was receding and I wanted to fix it. I don't get me wrong, it was a bit of an insecurity for me, but there weren't any other external factors realistically. Like, before then, I'd still covered it up very well. I was still going to PR events, getting invited to really cool things, hanging out with amazing people, getting my likes on Hinge. So this was something that I knew it was purely for myself and no one else. However, you know, let's say you're an individual who, I don't know, let's say you're like 35 years old, you've started receding, you don't really know what to do about it. You have to just understand why you need to do something about it, because at the end of the day, looks don't matter as much as you think they do. And I think as you get older, you realize that more.
Yeah. I think when we are young, it's all we think about, and it's okay, we are humans and we have insecurities, and as the same, women have insecurities, but men, they have as well. The only thing is they don't express it as much. So yeah, like, do you think, well, tell us about you mentioned Hinge, so now I'm interested, like, how did it went from, like, do you think, like, you became more confident?
No difference.
How is, like,
no
like
difference.
Hinge dating apps in London? Like, what's your take on that?
No difference. I have the best Hinge profile. I'm very proud of mine. I have Careless Whisper on my voice note for people to scroll through so they hear that music. You know the George Michael song? Shall I pull it up?
Let's go.
Right, I'm not going to show my actual Hinge profile.
No.
But what I have down here, let me see if I can find it.
I think
this pulls everyone, and this also shows, again, looks aren't everything. Personality is everything.
Hopefully we don't get this, like, copyright, but let's go.
Thanks for stopping by. Here's some background music for you to listen to while you're scrolling through my profile.
Well, you are gonna put a lot of people like that. Like,
But
what
no.
do the people say? It's funny.
They just start laughing, or I mean, I've got a mixture of like travel photos that I think is sex. It's just like topless gym photos, to be honest, or you know, like out and about. So it's just kind of a mixture of, you need to show on socials, you need to show your personality, you need to show a sexy side, you need to show a wholesome side, and you need to show your personality.
Yeah.
Like, no way. But what was your question, like dating in London? What's that like? Awful. It is awful. Everyone is I was about to say a very rude word. Everyone is it's hard to find love, I think, in London. Or technically it's easy to find love, if you want to go by that logic. It's because everyone is so busy, everyone has so much going on. I think hookup culture is very prevalent in the city, and anyone that I've been in a long-term relationship with, they have not been from London. They've been from either, you know, like people who are from abroad, or they're from like similar to areas where I grew up in the home counties, like Hertfordshire. But when, you know, you're working, let's say like a job, you know, like even if it's just 5 days a week, you know, you're working from 9 till 5. Don't get me wrong, you're exhausted, but because you live in London, you've got plans with your friends, or you're going to the gym, you know, so you do those plans from like 7 till 9, 10 maybe, for example. Then you have like that small window from like 10 to 12 or like 10 to 2 before you have to sleep. That's the time when, because everyone as well is in London, is close to each other, you think, hey, do you want to come over? It's very hard, honestly, to, you know, try and get a date in place, to do something nice and wholesome. You can, but it takes up a lot of time and energy. And, you know, on a weekend, for example, the Saturday, people want to sleep in after they've either gone out on Friday or they want to relax on their job, and Sunday's kind of a day of rest. So it's a bit of a tough one. For me, what I try and do now is, and this is kind of the person that I look for, I try to be good and go to the gym during the week. The weekend, I'll do something like this, but I'll see if I can do, you know, like meet someone at the gym, you know, like do a gym session together, go do something active, you know, something that fits into your lifestyle rather than having to take away. I think that's the only really successful way that you're able to do something with someone, you know?
I think in the Gen Z, you mentioned hookup culture, and that is purely superficial because it's what it is, right? So that, I think, is affecting people's mental health and increasing their insecurities even more, because I guess in these dating apps there's like a variety of options, and it's all purely based on looks, because it's like they don't want to, that culture is like people who don't want to commit.
I mean, like, think about it. You will do the most intimate thing with someone that you've never met, and that will be easier to do than to just say, I love you.
Yeah.
It's honestly mental. I mean, like, I'm sure, like, if you're on the dating apps, like, as well, like, you see what it's like, the type of messages that you get. I mean, what's your experience like?
Yeah, no comment. But yeah, like in a way, you mentioned that the personality, you have to be really self-confident and everything, but do you think people nowadays really care about the personality, like you are a super amazing person and everything, or?
Well, I think it depends what you're both looking for. You know, if you want a quick hookup, I mean, that's not something that I personally do. I like really dislike the idea, and I'm so sorry. I would much rather just go and get myself a burger or a pizza than meet someone at 3 a.m.
So you think your self-confidence also was a bit down when
no, it's got nothing to do with that. I just don't do hookups.
But
like, simple as that.
In a way, it's more fulfilling for you now. You are working in your like fitness and all your job, and also into finding something meaningful. That combination, I think, is better for your life.
I think that's also just a big. It's not even London, but I think it's a very big, you know, like city thing. You know, I think because there's so much superficiality, if that's even a word, going on within the cities, people crave meaningful connections more so than they realize. And that's what I found. I mean, even with people that I really didn't have a thing for. So I'll give you an example. There was someone that I went on like 4 or 5 dates with, didn't do anything with them. Eventually I just realized, you know what, to be honest, like, you're pretty genuine. I really like what you're doing. let's actually be friends, and not in a let's be friends and never talk again. Like even like yesterday we were just hanging out, like chilling, for example.
Nice.
But that's an example of, you know, it's got nothing to do with, you know, having an end goal of finding a life partner or just having a hookup. It's just the fact that it was a genuine, meaningful connection, as opposed to what you see as well. Everyone, they focus so much on looks, on how they show themselves on social media or how they show themselves online, and they kind of want the same. And I think that just kind of comes down to a validation aspect as well, because at the end of the day, you can be a hot person and you can find someone who's even hotter, but if you've got nothing in common, then what's the point?
Personality, or they don't have a good heart, or there are more things that matter. And you think men who feel insecure about themselves and are balding or bald, they have like a hard time being on dating apps because you have to put pictures of yourself, right? So
I wouldn't know. I'm pretty successful. No, but I do completely, I completely understand it from their perspective. I mean, if you're not fully confident in yourself, I mean, there's no way that you're going to be confident with someone who's, bluntly, I think at that point you'd probably be going for people more attractive than you. I think for girls, girls will generally get with guys who not necessarily aren't on their level in terms of like as a person, but I think in terms of looks wise, I think that girls will just prioritize as in girls looking for a life partner, they will prioritize someone who they can actually see themselves being with.
That is different. I think men are more visual at first, but women, they are more into, not all men, not all women is different, but women are more into personality, someone who can see themselves in the long term and they are a good person and something like that.
Exactly. Whereas I think for guys, it definitely is a case of, I need to find the most attractive person. Don't get me wrong, a guy, he will want to settle down, he will want to find a life partner. But I think, I mean, if you just go to instincts, at the end of the day, it is physical. And I think anyone who tells you it isn't the case is lying to you. Yeah. You do need physical attraction. It is the physical attraction which brings you in at first. And then it's the personality, how you guys actually get on, what you're doing with your lives, which then actually makes it last. So I get that from an initial perspective. And I think for guys, if they're just swiping through profiles or they see people or they see a girl at a bar, they will be more uncomfortable, or they won't be as comfortable, you know, going up to them if they don't feel that they're able to match that person's vibe.
That is really weird. Do you like now? I think because we are like in our screen, we are behind the screen, and it's easier to just slide into someone's DMs or something rather than approaching someone, and that takes a lot of confidence to go in a bar in the street, you see someone you like and you approach. That's how it used to be, but now it changed. So I think the levels of confidence have changed now, and more in the Gen Z, like you are.
It's crazy. I think, I mean, like, to be honest, it's almost non-existent there. Like, don't get me wrong, I am actually one of the most confident people that you'll ever meet. But even I still feel a bit about trying to go up to someone. To be fair, with girls, it's slightly easier, but like when it comes to guys, like you can never tell. Like, are they like? There's this person at my gym right now. He kept looking at me. I kept looking at him. He comes to sit next to the bench to me. I didn't know what to say, so I was like, "Yo, you finished with the set?" Didn't talk back, but whatever. But compared to online versus in person, I think because we've grown up with these apps, we've grown up with Tinder, Hinge, like Bumble, like there's so many different apps now. I was on Raya for a second. That was interesting.
How was that?
You have to pay so much for it. I don't see the point. I was on it for, it was really good. The quality of people was fantastic, but it was just so expensive. I was like, I'm not paying for this. Raya, if you do see this, please don't ban me. No, but
you are just giving feedback to them. That's it.
Feedback. No, but the thing is because we've grown up with these apps, we kind of see relationships forming from being online. Don't get me wrong, there are some cases where if you're really good friends with someone, one thing leads to another. But I think when it comes to meeting new people, you automatically kind of see everyone as a friend or not a target because they haven't come from an app, or it's like you look for romantic connections, or you look for, I don't know what the word is for it exactly. But when you're looking for something, you have an app to look for it on. So by the time you're in person, you see someone else, even if you are physically attracted to them, you do actually know a lot about them. You think you would want to do something with them. You won't see them as a target, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it's messing up a bit with people's brains because you have a lot of options, and then they also this culture in TikTok, red flag, green flag, this and that, and all of that, and the difference between us and other generations is that they weren't supposed to meet so many people in their lives, because now we can meet people from abroad, and but they, when they like someone from the neighborhood, they just went and they approached and they pursued them. That was, I don't know, different. You as well, you date men and women, so what is the difference in between, like how do men act when dating? How?
Well, I mean, for me, I prefer guys who just act like guys. I prefer girls who act like girls. So I'm quite simple on that. In terms of actual dating, I'd say for me, in terms of what I'm looking for, I'm kind of looking for someone who's also ambitious. I won't lie, like I am like a bit vain. I want someone who's attractive. Call me superficial for that. I do want that as well. And is also doing a lot with their lives. First off, already, that's actually really, really tough to find. I'd say with guys, it's pretty much 50-50 from the get-go. When it comes to dating, the only issue is it will then just progress so quickly. And guys just have a habit of talking to like other guys all the time. So it's much harder to see like a long-term thing forming. There are some cases where it works very well, but not always. With girls, I think it's a lot harder initially in terms of it's not 50-50 from the get-go. It's the guy has to pay for it. Even still with like Gen Z, it's frowned upon. It's you have to pay for the first date. You don't have to pay for the second date. You have to pay for the third date. If you're lucky, you might get a kiss on the cheek. You have to pay. But I think at the end of it, a girl will be a lot more committed in that relationship than I personally think a guy would be with another guy. But it is interesting because obviously I've got girlfriends, I've got guy friends. For guys, it's just the case of they can't afford this date, they don't want to do this, it's not fair, why do I get treated like this, blah, 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 blah. From a girl perspective, I hear, what do you mean he didn't pay for everything? What do you mean he didn't do this? You're a queen, you should be treated like this. And I do feel it is pretty unequal. I think it is getting better. But at the end of the day, if you are a woman and you do want a strong man to like look after you, take care of you, that is your prerogative. That is what you want to look for. Completely fair enough. And then that dynamic, it works. If you want to be stay at home and you want to have a husband who's the breadwinner, same the other way around. There's nothing wrong with like a stronger woman who she wants to be the breadwinner and to have a stay at home husband, for example. With guys, also the case, but it is very tricky to get something 50-50 from the get-go, if that makes sense. And I think that's what I personally struggle with when it comes to dating. It's the fact that I do not want to be, as a guy, I kind of want to be treated as well.
Yes, of course.
I will
guys
always
deserve
treat
to be
someone.
treated as well.
They do, thank you. I feel this is kind of like an opposite Andrew Tate, but
so guys, they need to be treated as well, that they need to be, you also struggle mentally and confidence is, but I think you shut up many things and you don't speak out about many things. And what would be your advice to men, young men or men of all ages, in dating, that about how to approach someone and how to get rid of those insecurities that men have? Like you mentioned that you have to be this and that. What would you advise them?
I would say if you're actively seeking something, you're already in the wrong and you're not ready for dating. If you think that a relationship is going to solve your problems, it is not. You need to first be comfortable in yourself. You need to be happy being single by yourself. Like for me personally, I'm very happy being single. I can see myself being single for another 10 years. I'm working on myself. I'm confident. But if you do get to that point, I think that is when, once you're genuinely happy with yourself, with your life, and you're not going to rely on someone else for your validation, once you get to that point, you still shouldn't chase it. You should have the options there, but it's a bit like a dog. At the end of the day, if you start running and chasing after the dog, it's going to start running away. If you leave the dog, you're doing your own thing, it will come to you. So it is a case of, and I know everyone hates the saying of just wait, it will come, but the best connections that I've had with people has always been from that, whether that's romantic or elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing you mentioned, that you did it for yourself. You have to do things for yourself, like what you are doing, fitness or improving your personal appearance, but also question yourself, why are you doing it? Am I really happy doing this? Will I be happy doing a hair transplant, or will I be happy having a cosmetic procedure for me or for others? And do you think also that when you try to improve yourself, if you do it for yourself, for your self-improvement, is much better than doing it for others, because then you will never be satisfied. You rely on approval from others.
There's nothing wrong with listening to other people, just as long as it doesn't affect your own judgment. If you are going to do something, whether that's dating, getting surgery, improving yourself in some way, shape or form, just understand you might hear it from other people, but you need to know whether or not you're doing it for yourself.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, really nice advice. I hope a lot of men who are listening, or women who are listening, understand how men's mental health work and how to understand it better. And it was really inspiring in a way, because you are really confident with yourself, and thank you so much. My last question for you: where do you see yourself in the future, because you are still really young? In 5 years, what great things do you want to do?
In 5 years' time, oh God, there's so much. I want to become the Prime Minister. I want to become richer than Elon Musk. I want to own 5 houses. I want to do absolutely anything and everything. No.
Big goals. That was to say, like, be delusional.
If I'm being honest, I have no idea where I want to take myself. But I think the problem with people is, if you set a goal that you're not really that comfortable with achieving, there's no problem with that. There's also nothing wrong with not knowing what you want.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is, just make sure that you're focusing and you're grinding and you're working hard now, because regardless of whatever your aim in the future will be, you will only get there by grafting and working hard.
Mm-hmm. So that's amazing advice. Thank you so much. So tell our listeners your social media, where can they find you to see all the advice you give for your fitness videos, your hair transplant video, if they want to watch it as well.
Well, if any of you want to follow me, speak to me, talk to me, follow any of my videos or anything, then yeah, make sure to just hit it's Dylan Wagner on all socials, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, and if you're attractive and looking for someone, my Snapchat is the same. But I appreciate that very much, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Also, if you want to speak, not with me personally, if you want to follow the podcast, Everybody's Lost, everywhere, TikTok, on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and comment also your experience as a man on dating apps. We want to see the gossip, and also about hair transplant, or if you are feeling insecure, just let us know your thoughts. So yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy your day or your evening, wherever you are listening us from. Bye. Adios.